The Specialized Tarmac has long been a popular race bike, whether you're racing or just love riding fast. And the SL8 launched 1 year ago only further enhanced that reputation as one of the fastest, lightest race bikes you can buy right now. But in 2025, is it still the bike to beat? Does it still live up to the hype? Especially when you drop down to a slightly more affordable non-S-Works bike as I have here today, or should you look at something else? So 1 year ago, I rode and reviewed the range-topping S-Works SL8 when it launched and was blown away with its performance, weight, aero and ride quality, as I should be, for a bike costing £12,000. So I'm really keen to revisit the Tarmac in a lower level, slightly more affordable model, one costing £4,000 less, and see whether the sparkle of that S-Works is still present in a cheaper model, and whether, given the bikes I reviewed in the year since, the Tarmac still shines as brightly as it did when it first arrived. So this is a Pro. It's the cheapest non-S-Works Tarmac you can buy, and essentially the same bike, barring a few key differences. So firstly, the frame is fundamentally the same, but a low-graded carbon fibre to keep the price down, which means a 100-gram weight increase, but a frame that's still sub 800 grams, so still very light compared to other bikes in this space. And the other key difference is, of course, it has Specialized on the down tube and not S-Works, which may matter to you, it may not. Let me know by dropping a comment down below. But the tube shapes are all the same. So the same nose cone, which still hasn't grown on me at all. It's still ugly. But the rest of the frame, I love. The sort of Athos vibe with a round down tube, very slender rear stays, an external bottom bracket. And then the components on the bike show no real cutting corners. So up front, the carbon handlebar is the same as you get on the S-Works. So one-piece carbon fibre for max aero gains. A similar 3D printed power saddle, but with cheaper metal rails over carbon on the S-Works model. And then the wheels, the Roval wheels have the same rims, but cheaper spokes and hubs to keep the price down, and then a small weight penalty. And then a Shimano Ultegra Di2 group set with a 4i left-sided power meter, and only a few hundred grams heavier than Dura-Ace, and I prefer the grey over the gloss black on Dura-Ace. Right, let's see what the Tarmac weighs. So no pedals or bottom cages, just the computer mount it came with, and on my scales, 7.28. So yeah, 7.3 kilos for a 56 centimeter carbon framed Ultegra Di2 equipped bike. That's par for the course, really. That's the big difference between this Pro model and the S-Works. The S-Works, actually you might remember, is about 6.6, 6.7 kilos, but you're paying £4 more for that. So here I am back on the Tarmac SL8. Was my experience on the S-Works bike a year ago just a honeymoon? Or was it really a bike as good as I said it was? Well, I'm delighted to report, yes, it's still a fantastic bike. But here's the revelation from riding this bike for the last few weeks, is that without riding this, the Pro and the S-Works at the same time, I can't tell the difference. Yes, on paper, the S-Works is lighter, and that might help in the climbs, it may not. But other than that, there's no difference. And from where I'm sitting right now, it looks the same. The handlebar is the same. The wheels are the same. All the important bits, the bits that actually contribute to performance, are the same. Which kind of begs the question of why you buy the S-Works. Well, we all know, don't we, why people buy the S-Works. But this shows and reminds you don't have to buy the S-Works. And a Tarmac SL8 is a good showcase for a bike that combines aero and lightweight. And it sort of makes a lot of sense. If you want one road bike to do everything, you want it to be as fast as possible on the flat roads. If you're racing or doing chain gangs, and you want some aero gains, but you still want to bike as lightweight, doing hilly rides, doing a Gran Fondo in the Alps perhaps, on the climbs, and yeah, Tarmac climbs well. It's heavier than the S-Works by about 600 grams, which you may notice, but really, will you notice that? I mean, it still climbs well. Got a nice gear range from this Ultegra DI2 group set. Plenty of stiffness through the bottom brackets and back end of the frame when you're out of the saddle. Really heaving on the bike up against a steep gradient. Yeah, so it climbs well. And on a shallow climb, you have the Aero benefits as well, which are now proven to be a real advantage at high speeds on gradients up to about, what, 6–8%. So no climbs like you get in Calpe or Mallorca where you can really keep in a big ring. You're going to get some Aero benefits as well. So the Pro bike delivers all the speed and good sensations of the S-Works. Mid-range bikes like the Pro have long been the sweet spot for savvy riders, offering top tier performance without the top tier price tag. And riding a Pro highlights that unless you have a Pro contract, it's arguably all you need. But let's be honest, it's not always about need. High-end bikes like the S-Works are often about desire and want, the allure of owning the best, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Still, for those looking for exceptional performance and value for money, the Pro model definitely stands out as a compelling choice. And around the Just Ride bike's test track is clearly not as aero as an aero bike like the BMC Team Machine R or a Canyon Air Road, but on a par with a Seeker Spear and Van Rysel RCR Pro. So the Tarmac SL8 is still a fantastic bike. Despite this heavier, cheaper build, it still shines as brightly as the S-Works I reviewed last year. Just a phenomenal bike, it really, really is. And it still lives up to the hype. And it's one of the bikes I get asked about the most on Instagram. People ask me, is a Tarmac really that good? And it's on most people's shortlist when buying a new road bike. I know 2 people locally who bought a Tarmac and asked me my sort of feedback on the bike before they made that plunge and bought the bike. And so far I believe they've been very happy with their new bikes, as I'm very happy riding this bike right now. So really not much false about this bike at all, apart from the fact it doesn't say S-Works on the down tube, which may be an issue for some people. But there is one big gripe with the bike, which is a potential deal breaker, and it's an issue not just for Specialized but other bike brands when they spec a one-piece carbon fibre handlebar stem, because it's too wide. For an aero bike, it should be narrower than 42 centimetres on a 56 centimetre frame. It should be 40 or 38 at least. And my personal preference right now is for a 38, the MV-ARs on my Carnago C68. And even BMC and Trek spec a 37 centimetre handlebar across the entire size range. So Specialized, yes, I know you can do better than this. The second one are the wheels and tyres. They're quite narrow by modern standards. Both the rims are 21 internally and the tyres are 26. Probably more aero for the pros, but do lack comfort for real world riders like myself and you watching at home. And then number 3 is the tyres are an absolute pig to get off the rims. Really, really tough, thumb-breakingly tough. Because the bike came with inner tubes, so I swapped naturally to tubeless with the valves that came with the bike in the box. But getting the tyres off, my goodness me, were they tough. But on the plus side, that means it's reassuring that the tyre won't pop off the rim in a high-speed blowout. And we have a hooked rim as well, so no hookless worries here. So those are really the main gripes with the bike, but that aside, it's a fantastic bike. It's fast, it's light, I love the saddle, the group set, the power meter, the black paint finish, other colours are available, and it rides extremely well. So the Tarmac is still an awesome race bike, even in the lower price point. But how does it compare to the brand new 10th generation Giant TCR Advanced Pro I have here? So the TCR, arguably the underdog in the comparison, because for some reason Specialized bikes have more desirability among many cycling fans than Giant. So the TCR does have to work harder to justify your money over the Specialized. So as I said, the 10th generation TCR launched last year where I went to Taiwan to see and ride the new SL version, the top end bike. And that SL really impressed around the amazing roads in Taiwan with a frame that's almost as light as the S-Works SL8 and improved stiffness and aero, even though it doesn't really look as aero as the Tarmac. But for me, the mid-range Pro has always been a sweet spot in the range. A slightly heavier, but still lightweight frame and a regular seat post. And long-time subscribers to the channel will know I'm a TCR fan. I built up a 9th generation version around a SRAM rival AXA group set 4 years ago. And I've ridden that bike a bunch and still ride it in the background, and a bike I still love. I've always liked the TCR because it's a bike that offers fantastic low weight for the money, great ride quality, comfort, performance, geometry, and good value for money, and easy availability at a wide network of dealers and good warranty as well. A bike that for me just talks to me on those levels, but a bike I know that isn't as desirable, that sort of intangible stickiness of a brand that makes you drawn to it over another brand for stuff you can't really put your finger on. Marketing and race success, of course. And on the scales, both bikes weigh the same. But you could argue that the Tarmac should be lighter given how much more it costs than a TCR. This model is £6,500, while this one here is £8,250, so a big price difference. And for fairness, there is an expert level of the Tarmac which costs £6,000, which has the same frame and all the same parts, Ultegra DI2 group sets, but the cheaper C38 wheels and a 2-piece handlebar and stem, kind of like what we have here. So that might be a better comparison. And I think it would be a better bike than this one here, because the big issue here is handlebar, which for me is too wide and the stem too short. And buying that £6,000 expert model and using the money you save to buy the handlebar of your choice in the dimensions you need, and then maybe upgrade the wheels, might be a smarter choice than the Pro we have here, but maybe not as aero. In Tour Magazine testing, it's giving away 9 watts at 45 km/h to the Tarmac. So 9 watts, yeah, quite a big deal for some people. For some people, maybe not. But that is an interesting question these days, because aero is everywhere. We all understand the benefits of aero. If you are riding fast or you are racing, riding faster for lower power is a win-win. And the Specialized Tarmac removed the goalpost in terms of weight and aero in a way that few bike manufacturers have challenged themselves to do. And the TCR doesn't really measure up to a Tarmac in that same balance of weight and aero. And I would have loved to have seen the TCR and the Propel merge into one bike, because the Propel is very light for an aero bike, but a bike that hasn't really resonated with the cycling crowd at all. So a TCR Propel crossover, like the Tarmac did with the Venge and the old Tarmac, I think would have made the TCR more compelling in this aero era we live in. But if you don't really care about aero, or you're not really fussed about the 9 watts you might save on a Tarmac, how's the TCR ride? Well, let's find out. The aero advantage of the Tarmac over TCR, yeah, you can feel it when you're riding, especially at high speeds. The Tarmac just makes riding faster, easier, with lower powers required on my power meter, riding the same segment on my local roads I know very well. But on a general loop with lots of hills and descents, and you're not really smashing it along, the difference is more marginal. If you are racing, the Tarmac is the obvious choice, just for the extra aero. You'd be crazy not to take the extra aero, the free speed that the Tarmac offers over the TCR. But if you're not racing, you don't care about aero gains that much, the TCR in the real world isn't slow at all. But where the TCR really has the edge, the advantage, in my experience, is when climbing. Even though both bikes weigh the same, 7.3 kilos, the TCR is a more enjoyable bike to ride up hills. So if you love riding up climbs, which lots of people do, then the TCR is a bike I would choose, despite the weight being the same. And I think a large part of that is the wheels. The wheels are mightily stiff and give the bike this amazing stiffness and delicious directness when you are sprinting, climbing out of the saddle. Just feels more efficient, even though my times are pretty much the same. So while there are a lot of similarities between the two bikes, the way they actually feel when riding them on the same routes is quite interesting, quite different in interesting ways. But for racing, you love riding fast, the Tarmac. You love climbing, want a bit more comfort, don't care about aero, yeah, the TCR. In summary then, the Tarmac S8 still shines brightly and impresses even at this lower price point, and you don't need the S-Works to enjoy the performance of this platform. As such, it's still arguably the bike to beat in 2025. However, it's not perfect. The handlebars are too wide and the wheels and tyres too narrow. And while the two bikes are at different price points, the Giant still offers better value for money even compared to the cheaper Tarmac SL8 Expert. And the Giant is ready to ride out of the shop with no changes or upgrades required at all, which I like a lot. Whichever bike you choose, they are fantastic bikes and deliver top level performance. They are very similar, but quite different in really interesting ways. Which would I buy? Well, I have a 9th generation TCR, and the changes aren't really compelling enough for me to upgrade. Yeah, a bit lighter, internal routing, that's nice. But do I want the same, but slightly better? Maybe not. So for me, maybe the Tarmac is the bike I would choose if you twisted my arm and asked which bike I would buy today, right now. But in the Expert trim with a narrower handlebar and maybe some different wheels and tyres. So yeah, that's my review of the Tarmac in Pro trim and a TCR Pro. Which you choose? Let me know by dropping a comment down below. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like and hit the comment section down below. And I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you so much for watching. That was a good catch, wasn't it? Really good catch, yeah. Oh man, these shadow stands are amazing, but slightly windy today. So you gotta be careful. You've got to have quick responses to catch